Please come and welcome back everybody. Please sit on some kind of support. So I've just got a folded blanket to sit on. You can use a block if you've got it. And then sit in easy cross-leg pose or swastikasana. So in swastikasana, you just want a loose cross of the ankles. It's not the tight cross where you try and have the feet underneath the knees. And once you've done that, then just pull the buttock flesh out of the way on one side and then the other. And press down lightly through your fingertips with the arms by your side, just to get some extra lift throughout the spine. And then see if you can keep that lift as you bring the palms together into Namaskarasana. So palms and fingers just evenly making contact. Thumb tips just rest against the breastbone and fingers point away. And the action here you want to think about is the breastbone coming forward to meet the thumbs to help keep the length in the spine. And then please close the eyes to begin the class. And as the eyes close, careful you don't drop the chest once more. So you want to still keep that sense of the breastbone coming forward to meet the thumbs. And with the eyes closed, draw your attention to your breath. So just beginning to notice your normal inhalations and your normal exhalations. If you can, breathing through the nose rather than through the mouth. And as you bring the attention to the breath, just check you're not gripping the stomach back. So you want that area to be free, just to create the space for the diaphragm to do its work. And then soften the eyes and the jaw and the throat. And now keep the lift in the spine and the chest, but just slowly nod the forehead in the direction of the fingertips. And then release the palms to the inner knees, and on inhalation slowly open the eyes and look forward. So just staying in swastikasana. So it's not hopefully it's not too strenuous a class, particularly after the break. I'm sure you've all been practicing, but it's more about stretching today rather than more challenging poses. Please bring your right arm out to shoulder height, just to shoulder height, and then think of rolling the shoulder back to turn the palm towards the ceiling, and then bring the arm up alongside the ear. And try and as you're reaching up to the ceiling, try to think of pressing down that right sit bone, so it's really the whole of the right hand side that lengthens to support the arm. And then release that arm back down by the side, and then bring your left arm to shoulder height first. Pause there, roll the shoulder to turn the palm towards the ceiling, and then extend the arm up. Just be careful you're not stiffening through the wrist. You want to keep the wrist nice and soft. And then just bring the fingertips of the other hand to the tricep area here, the outer upper arm muscles, and roll the tricep flesh in. And then once you've done that, you can release the other hand. The idea, you see, if you don't roll the tricep in, it will tend to bend the arm. So you want to use that action to help keep the arm nice and long. And then release that arm down by the side. And then once more bring the right arm to shoulder height, roll the shoulder to turn the palm, extend the arm up towards the ceiling, and this time you're adding a little bit of a twist. So you think of the ribs turning towards the left, and then bring the right palm to the left outer knee. The other hand just goes behind you a little bit, and then breathe in to try and lengthen through the crown of the head and down through the sit bones. It's very tempting to try and lengthen just to lift the chin. So you want to try and keep the length in the back of the neck. And once you've breathed in to create that length, as you exhale, just soften gently into the twist. And then as you inhale, try to keep the height in the spine as you come back to center. And then the other arm, take the left arm out to the side, roll the shoulder to turn the palm, extend the arm up towards the ceiling, and then again think of the ribs now turning towards the right as you bring the left hand to the right outer knee, other hand just slightly behind you, and breathe in to press down or root down through the buttock bones, And as you exhale, take the twist to the right. Good. And then as you breathe in, carefully come back to centre without dropping the spine. And then just change the cross of the legs to your non-first option. Again, just a loose cross-leg position for swastikasana. Pull the flesh out of the way on the one side and then the other. And now press the palms flat down into the thighs. Keep the elbows tucking in slightly, and by pressing down, again you create that lift through the spine. And then keep that lift as you bring the arms forward to shoulder height. Interlace the fingers for Badanguliasana. Turn the palms away from you. And then think of the whole of the trunk, pressing the palms forward, and then you reach the arms up towards the ceiling in an arc. Now if you find the elbows are bent, think of rolling in those outer upper arm muscles. Really try and extend the arms towards the ceiling, but buttock bones down into the floor. And then bring the arms to shoulder height again, and then just change the interlace, so it's your other index finger that's on top. Turn the palms away once more, and then again think of the whole of the trunk pressing forward, and then taking the arms up in an arc. Once more, grip the outer upper arm muscles in, and this time look up towards the hands, but try to think of the breastbone lengthening up towards the ceiling. And once you've done that, then bring the head and eyes back onto the horizon. And just to refine this pose a little bit more, think of the little finger side of the hands turning down towards the floor behind you, and really trying to root up through the base of the thumb and the index finger towards the ceiling. And then release the arms down, separate the hands, and then please come to lie down on your back. Probably most people will need some kind of support underneath the head, a thinly folded blanket, just to make sure that you're not shortening in the back of the neck as you lie down. And keep the legs bent up, a comfortable distance apart, about hip distance apart. And then bring your right arm up towards the ceiling, so just up towards the ceiling. Palm is facing the midline. Again, you want to think of those outer upper arm muscles rolling in. But as you're lengthening the forearm up towards the ceiling, draw the upper arm down towards the floor. So you want to have weight in the right shoulder blade. And then take a breath in, and as you breathe out, extend the arm overhead towards the floor behind you. And then inhale to bring it back up towards the ceiling, and as you exhale, release that arm down by the side. So just going to stay with the same arm. So once more, bring it up towards the ceiling first. Think of wrapping in the outer upper arm muscles, keeping weight in the shoulder blades. And now this time, can you bring your attention to your ribs and your chest, so that as you take the arm overhead, don't let the ribs lift up towards the ceiling. So you want to try and keep weight in the back, because otherwise this will turn into a back bend, and really we're using it to open out the shoulder. And then bring the arm back up towards the ceiling, inhaling. As you exhale, release that arm down by the side. And now bring the left arm up towards the ceiling, roll in the outer upper arm muscles, and even though your fingers are lengthening up towards the ceiling, you want to sense that certainly from the elbow, you're drawing the upper arm down towards the floor to keep the upper arm connected into the shoulder joint. Now take a breath in. As you exhale, begin to extend that arm overhead. It doesn't matter at all if it doesn't touch the floor, far from it. It's much more important that you keep the attention on the ribs. Inhale to bring it back up, exhale, release it down. And we'll just do that once more with the left arm. So you inhale to bring it up towards the ceiling, really focus now on the ribs. So almost of thinking of pulling the ribs down to the mat. And then as you exhale, extend the arm overhead. And then inhale to bring it back up, exhale, release it down by the side. And now fold both knees in towards the chest. So you lift the feet, pull the knees in towards the chest. Use your hands just to press the knees and the thighs together gently. And then just make a few circles in space with the knees to just get the lower back moving it down towards the floor, and then reverse the direction of these circles. So just nice easy breathing, nothing too dramatic in terms of the size of the movement. And then keep the knees more or less in the middle. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, bring the chin in and try to bring the nose or the forehead towards the knees and vice versa, just to round the back. And then inhale, release the head and shoulders back towards the floor. So once more, take a good breath in. As you exhale, try to bring the forehead towards the knees and the knees towards the forehead. And then release the head and shoulders back down. Good. Now, stay keeping hold of the right knee and just put the left foot back down on the floor. And then use your hands just to softly fold the right thigh even closer to the chest if you can. So we're closing or folding that right hip joint. Pull in the lower tummy to keep the lower back down, and then if you can, slowly slide the left leg long and away from you till it's completely straight if possible. And then think of your left calf pushing towards the left heel, but not so much as to lift the heel. So you keep the right thigh drawn in close, left leg extends away. And now see if you can circle both feet on the ends of the lower leg. So just have the feet going in the same direction and really try to push the heels out as part of these circles, so it's not just the toes wiggling in space. And then just reverse the direction of these circles. So physios often give this exercise for groin issues, for tight hip flexors. And now have one foot going in one direction and the other foot going in the other direction. Just gain easy breathing, and then reverse the direction of these circles, still the feet going in the opposite direction to each other. Now pause, keep the right leg where it is, bring the left leg all the way in towards the chest. Transfer your hands onto the left knee or the left shin, pull that thigh in close towards you, and then put the right foot down on the floor. Don't straighten the leg before you put the foot down, so you want the right heel foot on the floor. And then keep the tummy pulled back as you slowly lengthen that right leg away from you, as far away as you possibly can, and lengthen the right calf into the right heel, so you get a calf stretch as well as an opening in the groin. Now just easy breathing, begin to circle both feet on the ends of the lower legs, pushing the heels out as part of those circles, and then reverse the direction of the circles, just a few circles, and then have one foot going in one direction and the other in the other direction, and then reverse the direction of those circles. So again, as full circles with the heels as possible. Good. Now pause. Bring your right foot back to standing, put the left foot back down on the floor, and then once more bring both arms up towards the ceiling. Check your shoulders are heavy, you're drawing the upper arms down to the floor as you lengthen from the elbow to the fingertips towards the ceiling. Interlace the fingers for that Badangulya asana position. Turn the palms away from you, take a breath in, and as you breathe out, begin to extend the arms overhead again towards the floor. Keep the for sneezing. To keep the elbows, shows I should do some dusting in my house, to keep your elbows squeezed towards each other. Now, keep the tummy drawn in, so you want the lower back to be as close to the floor as possible, and then lengthen out your left leg and your right leg too, but try to keep those ribs down. Don't let this become a back bend. And then try to press the palms into the space behind you as you reach the heels away from you. And just to remind you again, if you know that you hyperextend in your knees, careful to keep the heels down on the floor. You don't want to let the heels lift away from the floor. Now, keep the legs active, bring the arms back over the chest, change the interlace to your other interlace, so the other index finger is on top. Turn the palms away from you once more, but keep the upper arms drawing down to the mat, and then extend the arms overhead. And then keep reaching through the palms as you extend through the heels, and if you can manage to keep the ribs down, that means we'll be lengthening the spine, but if the ribs lift, it will shorten the spine and take it into a back bend. So you want to just be mindful of that. Just nice, easy breathing. Good. And then bring the arms back overhead, release the interlace, and bend one knee and then the other. Now, just have your arms somewhere out to the side, palms towards the ceiling. Keep your feet and knees about shoulder width apart, and then just very gently begin to tilt the knees to the left as you breathe in. Breathe out, pull the tummy in to bring them back to centre, and then breathe in to tilt the knees to the right, and then exhale, pull the tummy in to come back to centre. Just continue to tilt the knees gently from one side to the other, just to begin to twist the spine, twist the chest, and then as you maintain the rhythm of just tilting the knees from one side to the other, begin to turn the head and eyes in the opposite direction to the knees. So just rolling the head in the opposite direction, you try and bring the nose and the knees to the midline together, and then let them leave the midline together too. Good. Now come back to centre, keep the legs bent, fold your right leg in towards you, interlace the hands behind the back of the thigh, and again just pull the thigh in close towards you, and then extend the leg long up towards the ceiling, and then turn the leg out and bring the little toe side of the right foot just to rest on the left thigh, and then bring both legs in towards the chest. Lift the head and shoulders so you can bring the hands to wrap around the head of the left shin or behind the back of the left thigh, and just try and pull the legs in close towards you. You can use your right elbow just to keep that right knee away from the shoulder, and then bring the head and shoulders back down onto the mat. Keep the chin tucked in so you have length through the back of the neck, and if you're anything like me, I'm feeling quite a strong stretch on these outer hip rotators on the right hand side in that right gluteal area. So just make sure you're breathing easily, not clenching the jaw. And then see, can you just make a few circles in space, small circles with the left knee. So you can use your arms to help with that. And then just reverse the direction of the circles. So just to really get into those hip rotators. Good. Breathe, and then carefully undo. Put the right foot back down on the floor. Bring your hands to the back of the left thigh. Pull the leg in close towards you, and then extend the foot up towards the ceiling, just to release the hamstring. And then turn the leg out and bring the little toe side of the left foot just to rest somewhere on the right thigh near the knee. but keep the left foot active, keep the ankles strong, push the heel out to the side, and then if you can, you lift both legs in towards you, lift the head and shoulders, reach with the hands to interlace around the head of the right shin or behind the back of the thigh. Try to bring the legs in close to the head first, and then release the head and shoulders back down. Keep the chin tucked in so you're not shortening through the back of the neck, and just breathe, breathe, breathe. So I can feel it now in the area of the left hip rotators, the left gluteal area. Certainly powerful stretch for the hip. And now begin to move the right knee in space, just to trace a few circles in one direction, and then reverse the direction of those circles. A nice easy breathing. And then pause, undo the legs, bring both feet back onto the floor, and then cross your right leg over the left. So cross of the thighs this time, good Kenny Everett cross of the legs. Pick the legs up as a unit, bring them in towards the chest again, and then see if you can lift the head and shoulders to take hold of the feet just above the ankles, and then just bend the elbows out to the side to try and bring the knees closer to the nose and the nose closer to the knees, and then keep the knees where they are as you release the head and shoulders back down. So again, a great stretch for the hips. One leg is internally rotated, one leg is externally rotated, and keep the elbows bending out to the side just to maintain that sense of a stretch. And then once more begin to circle the feet on the ends of the lower legs. So just circle the ankles and then reverse, and then release and change the cross of the legs. So it's left thigh crossed over the right. Fold the legs in towards the body. Lift the head and shoulders to take hold of just above the ankles. First of all, try to bend the elbows out to the side to bring the knees closer to the nose, and then see if you can release the head and shoulders down, keeping the chin tucked in. Breathe here. You may find that one side is a bit tighter than the other, a bit with the change of the cross of the legs. And then just see if you can make a few circles with the feet on the ends of the lower legs in one direction, and then reverse the direction of those circles. Good. And then uncross the legs. Now, if you have your belt, now's the time to take hold of the belt. So keep both legs bent up. You don't need a loop in the belt, just a loose belt will do. Fold your right leg back in towards the chest, just pull it in towards the chest, and then place the belt around the ball of the foot or the arch of the foot, doesn't really matter which, I prefer the ball of the foot. Have a strand of the belt in either hand, and first of all, pull the thigh, the right thigh, into the chest first. See, if you do that, it means that the upper part of the hamstring near the sit bones, that will release. And once you've done that, try to straighten the leg up towards the ceiling. So straight up towards the ceiling, not towards the head. And if you find that you can't do that comfortably, if you're straining to get the leg straight, then just take the leg a little bit further away from you until you can find a place where the leg is straight, but otherwise have it up towards the ceiling. Now, try to take hold of the belt as near to the foot as you can without strain, and then let the arms be heavy on the belt. So let the elbows bend out to the side, and then slide the hands down the belt until the elbows make contact with the floor. And once they make contact with the floor, press the elbows into the floor just to help you tuck the shoulder blades into the back of the body. So just a few breaths here, this first hamstring stretch really of the term, And whilst we're just focusing on this first variation, just try and press the big toe side of the foot up towards the ceiling into the belt, and use the right hand side of the belt to draw the little toe side of the foot down to the outer knee and the outer hip, just to get that action in the foot. Good. And then release, change the legs, so bring the left foot into the belt now, fold the thigh in close to the chest first, and then extend the leg up towards the ceiling. Okay? If not towards the ceiling, it can be lower, but just somewhere where the leg can be straight. And then take the hands up the belt as far as you can first, bend the elbows out to the side, and even for quite a few people that's already increased the intensity of the stretch. And then see if you can keep the hands heavy on the belt as you slide the hands down till the elbows make contact into the floor. And then once they do, tuck the shoulder blades into the back of the body. With these stretches with the belt, you just have to be careful that you've not hitched up the left hip, for example, and shortened in the left side of the waist. So try to keep a sense of length in both sides of the body as you just breathe, breathe, breathe into this stretch. Supta Padangusthasana 1, this one's called. Now pause and then change the feet again. So once more it's the right foot in the belt. Fold the thigh in close towards you. Extend the leg long up towards the ceiling first. Slide the hands down the belt just as we did before, tucking the shoulder blades into the back of the body. Make sure you're breathing, not clenching the jaw. Now, if your back permits, keep the tummy pulled in and then lengthen the left leg away from you, long on the floor, just as we did earlier with the groin stretch. So right leg is lengthening up towards the ceiling, left leg is active and reaching down towards the end of your mat. Just breathe here. Careful you've not hiked up the right hip, you want to keep length there. And now take hold of the belt with the right hand as close to the foot as you can. Bring the left hand down onto the floor beside you at shoulder height out to the side, palm turns towards the ceiling. And then see, can you begin to take the right leg a little bit off to the side? I've got a wall here conveniently to help me. So just a little bit off to the side, but don't allow the left side of the pelvis to become light. Think someone's got their foot pressing down firmly into the left side of your pelvis, because you don't want this to turn into a twist for the lower back area. It's to open out the hip joint. Just breathe, wherever you get the leg to is fine, and think of the right foot going towards the head rather than towards the floor. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And then bring the right leg back up towards the ceiling and then change legs around. So back to the left leg. Keep the right leg bent up initially. Fold the left thigh in towards you and then extend the leg first towards the ceiling. Slide the hands down the belt. Tuck the shoulder blades into the back of the body. Keep the tummy drawn in, and then if your back permits, lengthen out the right leg. So I'm lengthening the right calf into the right heel, lengthening the left calf into the left heel, but both legs are active. They're not just lying on the mat. You have to keep reaching through both legs just to get the work. And now take hold of the belt with your left hand as close to the foot as possible. Take the right hand out to the side for a bit of counterbalance. Now imagine someone is stamping down on the right side of your pelvis to keep that heavy. Begin to take the left foot out to the side and moving in the direction of the head rather than the floor. It's not about getting the foot to the floor. It really isn't. It's about the stretch for the hamstring. It shouldn't be a twist in the lower back area. Keep the head and eyes looking towards the ceiling. Some of you will be able to rest the left elbow down on the floor if you can take advantage of it. And then carefully bring the leg back up towards the ceiling, and then release the feet down onto the floor. Just put the belt to one side for a moment, and then please come and lie on your front. So if you lie on your front, you can rest the forehead on the backs of the hands. Now, if you perhaps just look at me on the screen for a minute, quite often when people are lying on the front, the tailbone is up, and then there's a gap here, because the hip joints are still quite closed. So if that's happening, press your pubic bone down into the mat. Nail it down into the mat. That will help to open out the front of the hips. And then think just of sliding your right leg a little bit away from you on the mat, as if it's being dragged to the end of the mat, and then release. And then lengthen the left leg down and away from you, and then release. And then come back to lengthening the right leg down and away from you. Fold the leg, so you fold in the knee, and try and bring the heel, the right heel, towards the right buttock. As that's happened, make sure the pelvis hasn't rolled to the left. So you want to keep the tailbone, the pubic bone pressing down, and the right side of the pelvis too. And then lift the head and shoulders slightly. See if you can reach back with the right hand to take hold of the front of the right foot. Don't let the right knee go out to the side though. It's as though the inner knees are glued together. And then see, can you just draw that right heel closer to its own buttock, and think of lengthening that right thigh away from you. But again, keep the front of the hip and the pubic bone pressing down into the mat. Just stretching out the front of the quadriceps, the front thigh muscles. It's called a pose called Bekasana or Ekapada Bekasana, the one-legged frog pose. Good. And then release, lengthen the right leg away from you, and then stretch the left leg away from you. Fold the left foot in towards its own buttock. Again, lift the head and shoulders a little bit, and reach back with the left hand to take hold of the front of the foot. Now, as you've done that, it's very common that the knee will flare out to the side, so don't let that happen. Keep the inner knees glued together, and then see, can you use your left arm just to draw that left heel closer to the bum. Squeeze the buttocks a little bit together. That will help to open out the front of the groin. And breathe, breathe, breathe. Good. And then release. Now, bring your hands beside your chest. Curl the toes under. Lift the tummy first. Push down in the arms to bring yourself up into an all-fours position. And then stay in this all-fours position first, with the knees underneath the hips and the hands underneath the shoulders. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, lower the head and round the back up towards the ceiling. Inhale, and then as you exhale, just point the tailbone up towards the ceiling to take you into a gentle extension. So take another breath in. As you breathe out, round the back up towards the ceiling. Pull in the tummy, pull the ribs up towards the ceiling, but let the head release. And then reverse that. Think of just tipping the tailbone up towards the ceiling as you look slightly beyond the end of your mat. Just going to do that one more time. It's just to release the back muscles after being on the front. Take a breath in. As you exhale, round the back up towards the ceiling, release the head. And then lift the tailbone towards the ceiling to come into an extension. and then find a middle place where you're neither overly rounded nor overly arched, and then bring your big toes together, keep the knees about shoulder width apart, and think your buttock bones are being drawn back towards the heels, so they'll dock on the heels, and then stretch both arms forward and release the head down. Doesn't matter if it doesn't touch the mat, just release the head down, and then just spend a few moments breathing in this position. Again, it's just to help release those back muscles that may have overworked on the front position. Good. And now lift the head and eyes, come back onto all fours, so you're back into this all fours position. Now lift the right side of the pelvis, just lift it a little bit, and swing that right foot forward to come between the hands. Now if that's a lot for you, you can have your hands on bricks if you have them at home, just to give you length in the arms. So you just bring that foot forward between the hands, and just check that your right shin is vertical. In other words, don't let it push out over the toes. Try and keep the shin vertical. And then just check that your right hip isn't pushing out to the side. So you want to keep that outer hip in. And then just notice, where is your pelvis in space? Just become aware of that. And then curl your left toes under. And without lifting the pelvis, stretch that left leg back and away from you. So nice, easy breathing. Keep the tummy pulled in. Keep the left heel reaching as if it wants to touch the floor behind you, as if you're in a starter's block, and breathe here. So again, second really big groin stretch of the evening, and then bring that knee down, take the right leg back, and then bring your left leg forward between the hands. So you swing it forward between the hands. Check again that the shin is vertical, that you're not pushing the hip out to the side. You want to keep that outer hip in. Think, where is your pelvis? And then curl the back toes under, and then stretch that right leg away from you. Okay? Keep reaching the right leg away from you. Don't let the pelvis lift. Just breathe here. Breathe here. Usually in class everyone checks out their toenails in this position. So keep breathing, keep reaching, good. And then bring the right knee down, take the left foot back, bring the big toes together, and once more just let the buttocks dock back on the heels and release the head just to relax in. This pose is called Adho Mukha Virasana. And then look forward. Come forward again onto all fours. Bring your right foot forward again between the hands. Curl the left toes under, and once again stretch that left leg back and away from you without lifting the pelvis. And then bring your left hand just a little bit more into the midline. Bring your right hand onto the outer hip. And see if you can turn the chest and turn the shoulders to face towards the right. But don't let the left knee drop down towards the floor. So keep that left leg active. And some of you will be able to take the right arm directly up towards the ceiling. But don't strain if that's putting pressure on your shoulder. And then release the hand down. Put the left knee down. Take the right foot back, and then we'll do the other side. So you lift the left side of the pelvis, swing that foot forward between the hands. Check all the earlier points. The shin is vertical, the outer hip is gathered in. Curl the right toes under, and without lifting the pelvis, stretch that right leg far and away behind you. It's a big groin stretch. Bring your right hand a little bit more into the midline. Bring the left hand onto the outer hip. And see if you can turn the chest and the upper body towards the left. You'll notice the left knee will tend to drop, so keep that leg super active, and then some of you be able to take the left arm up towards the ceiling. So you press down gently into the right hand as you extend that arm up towards the ceiling. Good. And then release the hands down, bring the knee down, and then take the knees apart, big toes together, and once more just take a brief rest in Adho Mukha Virasana, letting the head release down. You can bend the elbows for a second in this position. And then come forward again onto all fours. Take a good fist grip of your outer edges of your mat with your hands. So you take hold of the outer edges of the mat, curl your toes under, and then just sit the bottom back towards the heel. So you'll notice my arms begin to slope backwards, yours too. Pause there, and then gather in the outer upper arm muscles. So don't let the elbows bend, keep the outer upper arm muscles gathered in. And try and stretch your mat in two. So I try to stretch the mat away from me, push down through the hands, and then lift the knees and the bottom, but lower the head. Keep the knees bent, and just try to press the chest towards the thighs, but lift the buttock bones up towards the ceiling. Try to lift the buttock bones up as you press the chest towards the thighs. And then take a breath in. As you breathe out, come right up onto the balls of the feet and bend one knee and let the other heel stretch down towards the floor. As you breathe in, come right up onto the balls of the feet. As you exhale, let the other knee bend and the other foot stretch down to the floor. And then once more, come right up onto the balls of the feet. Allow one knee to bend as the other one stretches. And then once more, come up onto the balls of the feet and switch legs. So just a little bicycling action to stretch out the backs of the legs. And then come up onto the balls of the feet. Bring the knees down, the big toes together, and then just sit back towards the heels and take a good rest for a moment. Just bend the elbows, let go of the mat, and just breathe for a moment. Just let the breath come into the back of the body. And then once you've just had a few breaths rest, come forward again onto all fours. Now this time have the hands on the mat. And for those who are new, so the hands are shoulder width apart, and you want to try and make sure that your middle finger is in line with the head of the shoulder, so not pointing out to the side. And then wrap in the outer upper arm muscles again. So hands are on the mat, middle finger's in line with the head of the shoulders. You wrap in the outer upper arm muscles. Curl the toes under, and again just sit the bottom back towards the heels as far as you comfortably can. Keep the outer upper arms in. Try to again stretch your mat forward. So I'm reaching through the arms into the earth, and then lift the knees and the bottom once more and lower the head for down dog. Keep your knees bent, don't straighten them yet, and just try to press the chest towards the thighs, letting the head release. And once you've done that, keeping the buttocks lifted, then think of straightening the legs. So you lift the thigh muscles up and back to the bone, you suck them back to the bone to try and release the heels towards the floor. But keep pushing through the arms for down dog or Adho Mukha Shavasana. Check you're not holding the breath, and don't pull the chin to the breastbone. Just let the head be heavy towards the floor. Good. Keep breathing, and then release the knees down. bring the big toes together and just sit the bottom back towards the heels again to take a rest. First down dog of the term. And then please come up to standing. Come to stand in the middle of your mat. So again, for those who don't know this pose, so Tadasana or mountain pose, you start with the feet together, and then press down into the four corners of the feet. So press down through the ball of the big toe, the ball of the little toe, outer heel and inner heel. Press them down into the floor, and then just lift the toes, keeping the balls of the feet down, and think of just spreading the toes apart as you release them back down onto the mat. And once more, press down into the four corners of the feet, lift the toes and try to create space between the individual toes without looking down, and then try to lengthen the toes down, keeping that space. Now, Tadasana, arms are just long down by the side. A couple of points to remember. You want to make sure that your legs are straight. See, if they're bent slightly, it will change everything really. The weight will be coming more towards the toes. So you want to think of the thigh muscles above the knee, the middle of the thigh and the top of the thigh. Those muscles are being lifted, sucked up and back to the bone. You're sealing them against the bone. And as you get that action, sometimes what happens is the tailbone pushes out to try and avoid the work. So lift the thigh muscles, but just as we were lying down on the floor, you want to think of that, the pubic bone as if it's on the mat, being pressed into the mat, or tailbone lengthening down. And then the arms, just by the side, roll the shoulders back. If you look at the Light on Yoga book that Mr. Iyengar did in the 50s, that kind of popularised yoga, you'll see actually his hands are quite hard, they're quite stiff, but try not to stiffen into the hands and the wrists. Just keep the arms long but soft and roll the shoulders back. And now take the right arm out to the side, again as we did in sitting. Pause at shoulder height, roll the shoulder back to turn the palm, and then extend the arm upwards. Bring the left hand just to touch the tricep area to remind that flesh to roll in, and then release the hand. And then bring that arm down, and then take the other arm out to the side to shoulder height. Roll the shoulder to turn the palm, extend the arm up towards the ceiling. Just bring the fingertips to remind the tricep flesh to roll in, and then release the hand. And then bring the arm back down by the side. Now, I'm just going to turn to the side to show you. So this time, bring the right hand forward. So you remember on the back, we were bringing the hand up towards the ceiling, just bringing it forward this time. So the thing I was mentioning on the floor, see, you think of the elbow to the fingers lengthening forward, but if you don't do anything here, it actually protracts the shoulders. So elbow to fingers going forward, but elbow back to the shoulder joint to make sure the shoulder is in a neutral position. And then once you've got that, see if you can begin to take the arm up towards the ceiling. But just as I mentioned, when you're on the floor, don't allow the ribs to push forward and take you into a back bend. So you want to keep the ribs knitted together, and you only take the arm as far as you can keep the integrity of the trunk. Don't let this become a back bend. And then release that arm down by the side, and then bring the left arm forward. Again, check you're not losing the connection of the upper arm to the shoulders. You want to draw from the elbow back towards the shoulder, and then begin to extend the arm overhead without letting this be a back bend. So if you only get to here, to a level with the nose or something, that's fine. Don't substitute a back bend for this action. And then release the arm down by the side. And now bring both arms forward, again, upper arms drawing back, interlace the fingers for Baddha Anguliasana, turn the palms away, and go carefully, begin to extend both arms overhead. Again, doesn't matter how far they go, but it shouldn't be a back bend. So looks as though I'm not doing very much at all, but I promise you I'm working hard to stop my ribs and tummy pushing forward. It's very strengthening for all your abdominal muscles, your oblique muscles, etc., etc. Now release the arms halfway down, change the interlace, so once more it's your other index finger on top, turn the palms away without losing the connection of the shoulders, and then once more begin to explore taking the arms overhead. Now once they're there, look up towards the hands. Think of lengthening the breastbone up, so lengthening the front of the body, and then bring the head and eyes back onto the horizon. And again, to refine the pose, think of the little finger side turning down towards the floor, to the floor behind you, as you extend up through the root of the index finger and the root of the thumb. Baddha Anguliasana, Urdhva Baddha Anguliasana, this pose is called. And then release the arms down by the side. Now take your feet hip distance apart. So to get that, you can just think of the toes moving apart and the heels moving in line with the toes. And then bring your weight onto your right leg. So you just shift everything over onto the right leg. And then turn your left leg out. So just turn it out, so I'm on the ball of the foot, the heel just turns forward, so the turning is in the hip joint. And then see, can you bring that foot just to rest above your right ankle? But careful, you're not sinking into the right hip, so that right outer hip has to be gathered in. Just find your balance if you can, just nice easy breathing. And if you're able to, take the arms up into Urdhva Hastasana arms. Again, not letting this be a back bend, don't let the tummy drop towards the floor. So a kind of a preparatory version of Vrikshasana, tree pose. We'll just want to keep the jaw nice and soft and the breath nice and easy. And then release the hands down to the side, come back onto two legs, just pause to make sure you weren't holding the breath. And then when you are ready, shift the weight over onto the left leg. Just pause there to make sure you have your balance and you're not pushing out into the hip. Turn the right leg out, and then see, can you bring that foot just to rest above the left ankle, so no higher to begin with. Roll the shoulders back, and if you have your breath, begin to take the arms up into Urdhva Hastasana arms. Again, careful not to sink into the left outer hip. You want to keep that left outer hip gathered in. Good. And then release the arms and come back down onto two legs. Now, if that was already a balance challenge for you enough, stay with that version, and if you have a knee problem, stay with that version. But otherwise, we're going to do the more classical version of the pose. So you bring the weight back onto your right leg, turn the left leg out, and if you can, you bring that foot to the root, the top of the left inner, right inner thigh. Yeah, right inner thigh. So you press the left foot into the inner thigh resists back into the foot. Careful you're not dropping the tummy, they find the balance, don't push out into the hip. And then if you can, go slowly, take the arms up towards the ceiling for Vrikshasana. Outer upper arms wrapping in, that's it, into tree pose. If you're lucky enough to have a wall nearby, you can always use the wall for a bit of assistance, just to help you find the balance. Good. And then carefully release back down. Bring the left foot down. Again, just notice, were you holding the breath in Vrikshasana? Very common. I used to hate doing that pose when I first started yoga, and I hated it if anyone was standing behind me, because I felt I was being judged my balance, and so I'd always lose it in the pose. So coming to Tadasana, bring your weight onto your left leg, so shift the weight, turn the right leg out, and see if you can bring this foot to the root of the left inner thigh. Now, it may be very different on this leg compared to the other. Try and sandwich the foot into the inner thigh and the inner thigh back into the foot. You might feel I'm much more wobbly on this leg. Good. And then see, can you take both arms up towards the ceiling, the Urdhva Hastasana arms. I have got a wall to help. Good. Keep breathing, keep the jaw nice and soft. Good. And then carefully just release the arms and the leg down by the side. So just come back to Tadasana for a moment. So with the feet together. And then bring the middle fingers to touch just in front of the chest. Bend the knees and then take your feet nice and wide apart. So how wide? Mr. Iyengar used to say, so the ankles are underneath the wrists, ideally. So just take the feet nice and wide apart, bring the hands back down to the side, and first of all, just check that your toes are facing forward. So don't let the toes be pointing outside, just have the feet facing forward. And in just this preparatory step of the pose, think of lifting the thigh muscles. So legs should be straight. Press down into the little toe sides of the feet. So that I'm reaching into the earth through the little toe sides of the feet, but also press down into the balls of the big toes. If you do that, again, you'll feel something in the hips going on there. And then with the hands on the hips, roll the shoulders back, so as if the elbows are meeting behind you. And then turn your left foot in slightly. So I just lift the front of the foot, turn the foot in a little bit, and then put it down. And once you've done that, re-engage, pressing down into the outer edge of the foot. So lengthen down into the floor, into the little toe side of the foot, but keep the thigh muscles engaged. And then once you've done that, then think of turning the right leg all the way out to the right. So I bend the knee a little bit, and just as we did in tree pose, I'm trying to get the turn from the hip rather than from the pelvis turning. And once you've done that, put the foot all the way back down, and then if you're able to see me on the screen, careful you're not cocking into that left hip. Do you see what I mean by that? I've pushed out into the hip. So you want to keep that outer hip sucked in. It's almost as if from this outer hip I'm pressing that right foot more firmly into the floor. And the right leg should be straight. So not bent, straight. Thigh muscles drawing up. And then just check that the knee, the centre of the knee, and the second toe are all facing in the same direction. That's it. So both legs are straight. And then can you take both arms out to the side at shoulder height? Now, arms at shoulder height, careful you're not lifting the arms towards the ears. So you want to keep the shoulders, this area, the neck, nice and long, so the arms are supported by the back. And then just look towards your right fingers, but keep reaching the left fingers away from you. Good. And then bring the hands down, bring the legs back to centre, and then step back to the middle, come back into Tadasana just to take a moment's rest. And then we'll go to the other side. So you bring the middle fingers to touch in front of you, bend the knees, step your feet nice and wide apart. You can just measure the distance to make sure you've got the legs wide enough, and then bring the hands back onto the hips. Make sure the toes are facing forward first of all, it's very, very important, and then turn your right foot in slightly. So just lift the front of the foot, just turn the foot in slightly, and then put the front of the foot down, and then make sure you're lengthening down, particularly into the little toe side of the foot. You don't want to be collapsing in that ankle, so you lengthen down into the little toe side of the foot. Keep the thigh muscles lifted, and then can you turn the left leg? So I bend the knee slightly to help me do that, and I think of the foot turning, the knee turning, and the inner thigh turning to the outer thigh to make sure it's in the hip rather than the lower back, and then put the foot down. Now again, check you're not cocking out into the right hip. Keep that outer hip gathered in. So again, try to, as if I'm improving the contact of the left foot through the right outer hip, pressing down there. And then roll the shoulders back and think of bringing the arms out to shoulder height. Again, just be careful you haven't hiked the shoulders up towards the ears. You want to keep the neck nice and long, arms just out to the side, and then if you can, just turn the head and eyes to look towards your left, the nail of the left middle finger as you extend into the back arm. So reaching, as in all the poses, through all the limbs out into space, but that reach is coming from your centre, from the centre. And then carefully bring the feet back to centre, bend the knees, and then come back to the middle. Now, I had a longer list of poses than I've got time for, so please come and sit back down onto the floor. So I'm going to sit on the blanket again, and I'll show you this from kind of the front and the side. So just sit on enough support to give you some support underneath the buttock bones, and then stretch your legs directly out in front of you for a pose called dandasana. So feet are hip distance apart and legs are long. Now, just a word of warning again, if you hyperextend in the knees, if you know what I mean by that, so flick, probably you need to be careful you're not pressing the knees down. Legs are long, but not pressing the knees down. Feet are hip distance apart. And then bring the hands to the floor just behind you and slightly behind you, and press down into the arms just to keep the length in the spine. You want length in the neck, crown of the head reaching up towards the ceiling, buttock bones reaching down. And then bring the arms forward, just as we did before in Tadasana. Careful you're not losing the upper arms away from the shoulder joints. Interlace the fingers for Badangulyasana. Turn the palms away. Now think of your tummy, the ribs, the chest, everything coming forward, and then taking the arms up towards the ceiling for Badangulyasana again. So press the palms towards the ceiling, press the heels away from you, keep the feet active, keep it on the centre of the back of the heel. And then release the arms halfway down, change the interlace to your other interlace, turn the palms away, once more come forward with the whole of the body, and then extend the arms upwards. Keep the eyes focused on the horizon. Good. And then release the arms down and change the interlace. Now fold the right knee, right foot in towards you. So just show you that from the other side. Fold the right leg in towards you and try and bring the heel, close the gap from the heel to the right buttock. So bring it right in close. So you'll notice now the shin is slanting, the knee is kind of shooting towards the toes. That's absolutely fine. But keep your other leg active. And then you can see what's happened. As I've brought the knee in, I've tended to drop back in the spine. So interlace the hands around the head of the shin and try and pull the whole of your body to really rest on that bent right leg. So if I don't do that, see, I tend to drop back. So try and close the gap in the hip joint to bring my upper body to rest on the thigh. And then once you've done that, bring your left hand just behind you a little bit. Bring the left hand, keep hold of the right knee with the right hand. Press that left hand down into the floor to stop you dropping back. So you press it down to keep that length in the spine. Extend the right arm up towards the ceiling and try and turn the ribs to the left and the arm to the left. And then you bend that right elbow so it can press into the right inner knee. So I push the elbow into the knee, but I don't let the elbow win. So I push the knee back into the elbow. Kind of creates a sandwich effect. And then once you've done that, you turn the upper body, the head and eyes, all the way to the left. So you turn away from the bent arm and bent elbow. For Marishasana 1 is a seated twist, this pose is called. Careful, your left foot hasn't gone to sleep or offline, so you keep that left leg active. Now breathe in to try and get taller through the spine. As you exhale, just soften a little bit more into the twist. Again, breathe in to get taller. As you exhale, soften into the twist. And then one more time, breathe in to get taller. Exhale, release into the twist. And then carefully release. Come forward. Stretch the right leg forward. And then we'll do that to the other side. So bend the left leg in towards you. Pull the heel in as close to the buttock as is humanly possible. Interlace the hands around the head of the shin and try and pull your upper body to rest on that left thigh. So effectively you're bringing your weight to the front of the axis, of the hip joints. Now bring the right hand to the floor just a little bit behind you so you can push down into that arm to create the length in the spine. And then you stretch the left arm up to the ceiling and begin to turn the ribs to the right. Hook the elbow to the inside of the left knee and push the elbow into the knee, but resist the knee back into the elbow. And then you breathe in to grow taller. Exhale, turn the ribs, turn the chest, turn the shoulder towards the right, head and eyes too. And once you're there, just take 3 good inhalations and exhalations. Each time you breathe in, you think of getting taller. As you exhale, release into the twist. And then 2 more like that. So inhaling and exhaling. And then 1 more time, inhaling and exhaling to release. Good. Now keep the height in the spine, come back to centre. Please bend the legs and get ready for Shavasana. So if you have a bolster, you can have it behind the backs of the thighs. Have some kind of support for the head in the form of a thinly folded blanket or something, a block maybe. And then please come and lie down on your mat. So the blanket, if you're using one, should be under the neck and the head. It shouldn't be underneath the shoulders, therefore pushing the shoulders forward. You want the shoulders to be able to release down towards the floor. Keep your legs bent up initially and just use the thumbs around the buttocks to you lift the pelvis slightly, draw the buttock flesh down towards the heels. That helps also to bring the lower back down. The back is heavy. And then stretch out the legs. So if you've got a bolster, have them over a bolster. If you haven't got a bolster, then it's fine to do it with legs straight. But if you're experiencing any discomfort in the lower back, then I'd suggest you keep the legs bent. Again, if you're lucky enough to have a wall nearby, you can always swing your legs up the wall. That's a very nice position to take Shavasana in. And then keep your feet about shoulder width apart. And then bring your elbows down onto the floor beside you, beside the mat. Press the elbows into the mat once more, just so you can tuck the shoulder blades into the back of the body, and then lengthen the arms down so the palms are towards the ceiling. Just lengthen them down towards the mat. And then think of the big toe sides of the feet rolling to the little toe sides, so you just let the inner thigh muscles release. Check you have length in the back of the neck, so draw the chin down slightly. And if you wear glasses like me, probably a good idea to take the glasses off if you're comfortable to do so. And then please close the eyes for Shavasana, so corpse pose. Again, Mr. Iyengar always used to say that this was the most difficult pose of all. The challenge being to allow yourself to kind of take a deep relaxation without drifting off into sleep. So, with the eyes closed, begin to draw your attention to your breathing. Just noticing your inhalations when you breathe in and your exhalations. We're not trying to change the breath, it's the first class of term, so just allowing your normal inhalations and exhalations. But really think of each inhalation creating length, so it's as though the breath starts right down in the area of the pelvic floor, and then it's filling you up like a cone or a letter V from the bottom all the way up on either sides of the body to the collarbones, even to the ears. And as you exhale, you just surrender that in-breath to the space around you. So don't strain, just breathe in, giving yourself permission to take a full, expansive inhalation, and exhaling to release. And as you're just noticing your breaths in and breaths out, see if you can just allow the eyes to soften, so all the muscles around the eyes, allow them, just think of the eyeballs just softening in their sockets, just releasing down towards the floor in this position. Thinking of the inner cheeks being soft. Space between the lower teeth and the upper teeth. Just allowing yourself just to sink with each out breath deeper and deeper into the floor. And then, sorry it's such a short relaxation, just begin just to wriggle the fingers and toes. Bend the knees. Roll to one side. Just pause and rest on the side for a moment, don't just suddenly lift up. And then see if you can just use your hands to support you, to transfer your weight into a sitting position, and then come and sit easy cross-legged facing the front. Bring the palms into Namaskarasana. Close the eyes. Just notice how you feel after the first class of the term, so maybe a sense of length in the spine. And then bring the forehead down, release the palms on an inhalation, slowly open the eyes and look up. So, thank you very much everybody, great to see you all.